introduce yourself first of all and tell us a little bit about you personally and professionally.
Okay, well, I'm Thomas Cook. I'm a lifelong resident of Bay County. I was born and raised here, with the exception of the period of May of 2006, or 2000 to the year 2006. I lived out of town, but other than that, I've been here all my life here in Bay County. I've got family roots that have gone back almost 100 years here in Bay County. My grandfather was city commissioner for the city of Panama City back in the 50s, and he's responsible, or one of the people responsible for the Civic Center being built, the two marinas, St. Andrews and Panama City, and where Gulf Coast Community College is located. He was very instrumental in getting the property and all for that. So I'm trying to follow in his footsteps. I work for AT&T, have worked for them for 20 years. It used to be Bell South, but it became AT&T in 2007. I've done several different things. I started out as a technician that came to your house to install your phone, repair it. Then I moved into management in 2006, and now I've been in the construction and engineering side of the house since then. And I have a lot of experience with utilities, and that's one of my passions right now. Is if you drive around town, you can still see the remnants of Michael hanging all over the place. And I'd like to try to get that fixed as a commissioner.
All right, so let's talk about, first of all, tell me why you're running for office.
Well, one of the reasons I'm running is I think it's time for change. You know, we've had a lot of people on the board here in the last few months, not just in the Panama City or the Bay County board, but across the county as a whole, getting indicted and being investigated by the FBI and the federal government. And so I think it's time we have some people that step up to the plate, that have no association with any of the companies or people that are being investigated. And I'm that person. I'm probably one of the most boring candidates you could probably look for in Bay County, because I'm not associated with any of the what I call the alphabet companies that are being investigated right now, nor am I affiliated or associated with any of the board members that's currently on the board or in the past either. So,
well, that brings up the issue of trust, and
trust.
that the FBI investigation and that corruption scandal is the reason this seat is open.
Correct.
So tell us, what does trust mean to you, and why should we trust you as voters?
Well, you're a servant of the people, and you should do the will of the people and not the will of special interest. And I think that's kind of where we're at here in Bay County now. There are several people or entities, I guess, that kind of direct who they would really want to be in a particular seat, you know, in the government. And you have to trust the people that you vote for. And I want to gain the trust of the citizens of Bay County. Again, like I said, I'm open book. I have no association with any of the
no
things.
conflicts of interest?
Conflicts of interest.
What about the fact that you work for AT&T?
With AT&T, if I had any kind of conflict of interest, you know, most of our business was handled many years ago for easements and whatnot. You know, the only thing that may come up would be a possibility would be mobility, which is part of AT&T wanting to get an easement or a zoning ordinance change to build a cell tower. But if that was the case, I would definitely refrain from voting, or anything that would associate myself with my business. I would recuse myself, yes.
All right. So let's talk about businesses coming to the area. It's important. How would you attract businesses, and do you believe in offering incentives?
Well, I believe in offering incentives, but we'd have to look at what those incentives would be versus what the company would be coming here. You know, after Hurricane Michael, you know, we had a very devastating blow to our economy here. And I think one of the keys to bringing our economy back is to have businesses that can provide quality jobs here in Bay County. So what I would like to do as a commissioner is form a coalition of business leaders and citizens, and kind of like what you do if you're looking for a pastor at a church, a search committee. Go out and identify companies that would be a good fit for our area, go out and pitch what we have to offer here, and try to bring and attract some of the best companies around the country here to Bay County.
Of course, that was the next question, talking about Hurricane Michael, and that's okay. All of the issues that we still have, people are still recovering.
Yes.
What would you do to move that process forward?
Well, you know, I know several people that are still, you know, there's probably hundreds of people in the county today that are still haven't even been able to start remodeling their house because of the insurance problems they've had. So I would like to look at trying to find some grants or other relief funds from other areas that could come in and help our citizens. You know, I find it very sad, for one fact, that, you know, a lot of insurance companies, you pay high premiums each month to them, then you have an event like Hurricane Michael, and then they basically said, okay, well, we took your money, but we're not going to give you your money back to help you in the time of need. So I think we need some reforms there. That's kind of something that would be more along the line of the state level and federal level for the reforms. But there definitely is a need for action to be done concerning hurricane recovery and disasters and stuff like that with insurance.
Would that be considered a priority for you?
Yes, that would be a priority, yes. Hurricane recovery from Hurricane Michael, I think, is one of the biggest problems we face right now as a community. It's been we're coming up on the second year anniversary of Michael, and you can still drive around town and there's areas of town that look just like it did the day after the storm. And so a lot of our citizens, didn't have insurance, and they're kind of stuck holding the bag with a house they can't live in. And so there again, I would like to try to come up with a solution that we could, get help to the people that need it most.
Now, we're in the middle of a pandemic, COVID-19. Are you happy with the way the Kern County Commission handled that whole thing, and what would you do different if you were already in office?
Well, COVID-19, 2020 has been the year of the years we've had here. For me personally, I wear a mask everywhere I go, try to, for my own safety and for the safety around me. I don't necessarily think it's the government's mandate to mandate everybody wear a mask and make a law or an ordinance that you have to. But I think you should take your own personal responsibility. If you feel like you need to, you should. But yeah, COVID-19, there's been so many different things about it. You get information from the CDC, and then it seems like it changes, weekly or even daily sometimes. And
but you wouldn't do anything different
I
than
won't
they
think
did.
I would do anything really different, other than just ask people, if you feel like you should wear a mask, to wear a mask.
Okay. Let's talk about your campaign. I see there's about $1,500 in it.
Yes.
Not as much as some.
No.
A little more than others. How are you accepting campaign donations?
We're taking, checks. I have a campaign treasurer that is taking care of receiving funds. As far as I know, I'm the only one of the candidates that chose to get a separate treasurer.
Other than yourself,
Other
you
than
mean?
myself, yeah. I didn't want to have any association with that. I wanted it to go to an independent person and didn't want to have any kind of conflict with that. So,
do you have any guidelines you set for yourself as far as who can donate? Would you take money from a big company?
It depends on what the company is. If they're on the list of being investigated, I wouldn't want to take the money from them.
What if it's someone who could potentially do business with the county down the road?
Well, I'd have to look at that and see too. I'm open to taking funds. What I'm trying to do really is run a grassroots campaign and not really having to raise too much funds. To me, I think it's kind of sad that you have to raise so much money to be able to run for an office, whether it be a commission, mayor, even all the way up as far as, in the federal races and the presidency. As Americans, I think we have the right to vote, and that's one of the greatest things we have here. What's one of the things that makes our country so great. And so, I don't want to raise a lot of money. I'm trying to raise the money to get what we need to get done as far as signs and some advertising and stuff. But to me, I feel like if these big businesses, give me money, then that's like saying, hey, I gave you this big check, now you owe us something. So I don't want to be associated with that if I can.
All right, talking about ethics and things like that, there have been dinners, coincidentally enough, in District 4, which is coincidence, I'm sure, but over the time it's been for men only. It's been going on for decades. You know what I'm talking about. Have you ever been to one of those?
No, ma'am, I have not. Never been invited, never gone, and don't plan to go.
So if you were invited after being elected, if you were chosen by the voters, you wouldn't go?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Let's talk about transparency. That's an issue that we hear candidates always say, I'm going to be transparent. What does that mean to you?
Like I say, I'm an open book. I've got a Facebook page with my contact information, my cell phone number, my personal cell phone number on it. And I've had several citizens call me and ask, my opinions of various things across the county. Like I said, I'm an open book. I'll be glad to discuss anything. I think I'm the only candidate that put my tax information out there, for our financial disclosure. I'm not trying to hide anything. I've got all the paperwork for my last tax returns on the bayvotes.org website. So I encourage people to go look at the candidates and pick the one that they think is going to represent them the best.
Do you currently live in District 4?
I do.
Okay.
I live off of Risotto Beach Road in a little neighborhood called Cedar Creek.
Okay. Have you ever had a run-in with the law, or have you ever been arrested?
Nope, never been arrested. The only thing I've ever had is maybe a speeding ticket or two when I was younger. I definitely know I got one when I was right after I got my driver's license. I hadn't probably had it. The ink hadn't dried on it yet when I got my first speeding ticket, but
Right,
that's
I
been
think
over 35 years ago.
Yeah, I think we've heard that from
But
most
as far as
everybody.
any kind of issue with law, no. I'm very supporter of our law enforcement and our first responders. My son Logan, 23, he's a fireman right now out at Panama City Beach, and he's currently in the paramedic class, and he'll be a paramedic soon too.
Oh, very nice. All right, guidelines. You'll have to take sort of like a training to learn what the state laws are for an elected official. Have you already
Correct.
looked at any of those?
I've looked at a little bit online. There's a 4-hour ethics and guidelines course that you have to take. It's mandated by law, and I don't have a problem with that. With my company at work, we take probably about 25 or 30 hours worth of ethics training a year, so it's not anything that I've not already used to.
Have you been to a county commission meeting?
I have not been lately. I had planned on doing the last month and a half of the meetings that I could attend, but I'm on a disaster recovery team at work, and of course Hurricane Laura hit the Louisiana coast, and I've been over there for like the last 29 days helping them recover. And of course we had Hurricane Sally that followed her, and I was over in Pensacola for a few days. So my plan is now I'm back in town, and that's what I want to do.
Have you ever been?
It's been several years ago,
okay.
yes, but not in the last 6 or 8 months.
Do you know what
yet.
the current budget is?
I do not.
No. All right. It's a lot of money.
There's a lot of money,
And
but
of course they're working on next year's, but I think it's,
well, I tell you, they get a lot of money from us up in the northern part of Bay County. I call it the gold-plated water system we have up there, and where especially the folks in Cherokee Heights and up there. Excuse me. Excuse me. My water bill, our personal water bill, averages anywhere from $120 to $165 a month, and that's just outrageous. And that's not including trash pickup or anything else. That's just our water bill.
will you
And
work on that if
that's
you're
one of my
elected?
top priorities too, is finding out what we can do to reduce the price of water for the people up in the north end of the county that's on that system. I mean, if you got a family of 5 or 6 or more and you're getting a water bill of $200+ a month, plus all the other utilities, by the end of the day, you don't have anything left to spend, especially when a big chunk of it's going to water and sewer. So I think that's one of the decisions the county made back in, several years ago that at the time sounded like a good idea, but it now has kind of turned out not to be such a great idea, at least from my standpoint.
Final question. Why should voters choose you?
Well, like I said, I want to be a servant to the citizens of Bay County. I want to be able to help everyone here, no matter whether you're a Democrat, Independent, or Republican. I'm here to serve you and answer to the public, answer to the citizens. I think it's time that we have somebody in office, that'll go out and pay attention to what the citizens are asking for and try to get the work of the citizens done.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.